Oh, give me 1 second while I bring this up, okay? I've been doing a lot of work on trying to become an engaging speaker. And I found that at the contest, I was watching Francine. Francine did a lot of things that are very engaging. She did things like repeat her message over and over again. She would say, I'm out here, no bra, the ugly t-shirt, and a hole in my pants. Over and over again. She peppered that throughout her speech. That kept people looking at the speaker. I am lately have become someone who watches everybody else when somebody else is speaking. And I notice some people, they get this. Other people, when they use some techniques and some ways of bringing people in, that you see them like this. You don't see them on their phone. You don't see them doing other things. They are focusing straight on the speaker. And that's what we want. And I think this club is so engaging that you're already there, but we can enhance it and we can make these speeches outrageous. Now, one thing I do, and I don't know if anybody else does, and I'm going to share this with you. Before I go to a meeting, before I go anywhere to a Toastmasters meeting, or before I speak, I do brain exercises to help me focus. Everybody, I want you to try this. You have two sides of your brain, right? One side's creative, one side's like a standard, make you march in line, right? You need to get them to work together. So in order to get them to work together, you have to do the cross. So what you do is you go like this for 1 minute. You go put a hand here and a hand here. And then you clap and you and you go backwards and you keep doing this. And that will release the brain fog in your brain, because it connects the two sides of your brain. The next thing I do is the ears. Now I have to take this off for a second, but you can actually stimulate your hearing if you're an evaluator or if you simply hear what's around you by going like this. Rub your ears right on the edge. That will awaken the senses for your hearing. After you do that, you're going to work on your eyes. Now, what you have to do is you put your thumb out like this and you move it over here, but you don't move your head. Move it over here, move it up, move it around. That will train your eyes to see what's ever on the side. It helps to engage your peripheral vision. If I can even say the word, that would help. Last but not least, what I do is I take a deep breath and then a second deep breath. So you go like this and then let it out and do that 4 times. And I find that any nerves, any confusion, anything that's going to distract me is gone. Like that. And with me, I thought, oh, good luck. But nope, it happened. I started to research what it is to be an engaging speaker. And of course, you hear, oh, the 4 things you need, oh, the 5 things you need, oh, the 2 things you need, oh, the 6. I made my own, believe it or not. What it is when you walk on the stage, you have to have confidence. You have to have authenticity. You have to have energy. You have to be a storyteller and you have to be interactive. That's what holds people's attention. If you look at these pictures, would you rather talk to this woman in the red shirt with the long hair, or would you rather hear from the one that's crying? Which one do you think would have more credibility? When you walk out on stage, that is your first interaction with the audience, whether you say a word or not. And one way to capture their attention is to be silent for 30 seconds to 1 minute and just look around and smile, because they will start to wonder what's going on, and their attention will be right here. Then you start to talk, they're still there. That's a secret that I learned from a coach that I had years ago. Don't be afraid to take your time to start in silence. Because after all, they say silence is when a higher power can talk to you as well and calm you down. So don't even worry about that. Because in a competition or at a speech, the time starts when you speak, not when you're in silence. The use of the pause and the use of the silence is golden. If you say, let me ask you a question, and then you use a pause, they'll go, okay, what's the question? They're on the edge of their seat. And then you say, has anybody ever felt sad, so sad that they just didn't want to live anymore? And then you stop. And then you start to see somebody sit back, and all of a sudden you'll see hands go up. Because it marinated. The question marinated. So make sure you give them that little bit of time to think about that question, because if you ask them too quickly, they might be raising their hand and you're already on the next subject. So confidence must precede the speech. When you walk out, smile, look at everybody eye to eye, and have a moment of silence. It's okay. No speech is ever considered, but only by the speaker. Think about that. The speaker is so worried about the speech, but if the speaker doesn't have confidence, no one hears the speech. So we're the only one that's worried about what's in the speech, honestly. They're more worried about how you present it. And they won't get the bottom line if you're not confident. Authenticity, though, having a story that tells from your heart or something that you truly know, is going to establish that connection with the audience, because they're going to believe you. Once they believe you, you're in good shape. They're going to listen. They're going to ask questions. They're going to be engaged. And you are going to look like the hero because you know the answers. You may not know the answers, but they don't know that. As long as you're authentic with your answers and somebody asks you a question you don't know, you say, well, I'm not sure about that. I'd be glad to get back to you. Give me a moment after the show and I'll help you. That's all you have to do. But authenticity is key. So when you're speaking and you want to be an engaging speaker, speak about a story that's personal to you or something that you already know. And you can enhance it so much that it can be something they remember when they walk out the door. When you have energy, that's like the plug that keeps the light on. It keeps it sustained. Look at Fluffy. Everybody knows Fluffy, right? Does he ever run out of energy? Never. He never runs out of energy. Jeff Dunham. There's a story about Jeff Dunham where he went to an Arabian country and they told him that he cannot use Ahmed. So what did he do? He didn't ex Ahmed. He made him French and brought him out on stage because the audience demanded Ahmed, even though they were in an Arabian country. So now he's Ahmed. He's French. That was brilliant on his part, because, you have to have a brilliant mind and you have to have a plan B all the time. Go with the flow. But at the same time, if they're telling you you can't do something, there's always another way to do it. And he proved that right there. His energy level and Fluffy's energy level, that audience leaves happy, energized, ready to go out on the town, ready to go out to dinner and talk about Fluffy or talk about Jeff Dunham and what their message was. That's our goal, to get that message out there. When it comes to storytelling, I have to tell you this story that I had when I worked for Walt Disney World. We were open the Animal Kingdom, and it was the filming day for the brochures and the commercials. Roy Disney was there. Now, I was the one that scheduled all the hairdressers. We went to the location. He was sitting there and he said, "Let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, Walt used to come to my house and tell me bedtime stories. He told me the story about a little wooden kid. All of us loved this story because he was bouncing all over the house. But when the movie came out, we hated it. We absolutely hated it because it wasn't what he told. Because someone else was telling Walt's story and it wasn't being told from Walt. And it came out totally different. And that's what I'm talking about when you're storytelling, when you're telling people to see what you see. That story has to come from your heart, from your authentic heart. And when you tell the story and people are so happy to hear it and they're in it with you, that's engaging. I had someone tell me once, make a movie in your head. Because when you have a movie in your head and you have think about your favorite movie that you've seen like a million times. When you lose your place and you rerun back to it, you know exactly where to go back to because it's a movie that you know. You'll never lose your place. So when I have to do speeches like the one I did the other night, I can actually see it in the movie in my head. The only thing you have to realize when you do that is that people can't see the details. So you have to make sure you share the details. But if you see that movie in your head, you're not going to lose your place because that's something that you can feel. And I did this with one other speech that I did, and it was so emotional at the end that I had to turn the video off because I couldn't stop crying. That's how engaged I was to be able to tell my story and get them engaged. So the engagement is in both. It's a double entendre. It's get engaged yourself and then share it to get them engaged in your message. The last thing I want to talk about is interaction. When you're interacting with people, you have a question and answer session. You have maybe a game you play with the audience, or look at Fluffy. He's always taking suggestions from the audience. He makes it hysterical because he's able to interact with them one-on-one, and those people are loving it. Like the bit he did where, do you have a dog at home? Do you have a dog at home? Who has a dog at home? He does that. He does questions about strangest things, but these people are, at the end of his show, are begging for more. They're yelling, Fluffy, 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 come back. Because he makes them feel like they're in his living room. And that is an awesome feeling when you're in an audience like that. And you get a speaker that is so engaging. You walk out of there thinking, well, I know exactly what he said. They're not going to walk out of there saying, did you see that guy in the blue shirt or that guy in the green shirt or that guy that had the stupid hat on? He's like, no, I didn't. I saw the guy who wanted to leave a message. I saw the message. All of a sudden, that person kind of disappears and they remember the message. And that's what we want to do. We want to be so engaging that people walk away going, oh my God, that was a good speech. That was great. That was awesome. Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what she said about the dog? He wants to sit on daddy's lap. That's what they're all talking about. And I think that it's really important that we pull the audience in the beginning and we keep them there somewhere in the middle. And then we end on a note, like, for example, end with, this is what I did. What would you do? And make them think about how they would react in your situation. I think this group here is especially engaging. To have 15 people from one club show up at a contest is amazing, let alone you were the majority of the people at the contest. I wasn't competing for Find Your Funny, but I'm a member, and I was happy to see them because the club I was competing for, there were two people that were, one was competing, the other one was his wife. So yeah, but I felt good. I felt supported and everything, even though I was going up against Francine and she beat the pants off me, but that's good. We're happy. But you know, I have one thing to say though, Francine, they got my name right. They just didn't spell it right. So with that said, does anyone have any questions about being engaging? You know, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. But at this point, you need to talk.
Oscar has his hand up.
Yeah,
Oh, he does. I can't see
of
him.
course. Oh, you can't.
No.
I feel invisible. It hurts. But
Oh,
Maybe stop sharing now, Sandy. And
okay.
yeah.
That's better.
No, well, Sandy, when you talk about engaging and a question about, well, you and I did a lot of improv classes together, but I think namely about 39 of them or some crazy number like that. But what do you think about using improv and engaging the audience, and how would you describe our experience there as far as using that technique and how that was effective?
One thing improv taught, what they taught us in improv, and Paula probably knows this, but our instructor Richard would always say the purpose is to set your partner up for success. Don't worry about yourself. And what that did for me, it means that I'm not going to worry about what they're thinking when they're staring at me. I'm more worried about how I could set them up with my message. So it took a lot of pressure off me on stage because I used to shake. I used to be scared. I started Toastmasters in a bad place. And now, after improv, after being a division director, after being an area director, after doing all these things, and after looking and trying to learn to be engaging, I've learned I can walk on that stage and not even think about who's in the room. Just start talking, because what's important is the message you're giving, and that not everyone is going to get it. But as long as the majority of people do, and you make an impact on them, you're engaging. I think improv was a huge part of that, because I had to do Or shows. One of them was a double show because we didn't have another class to do the other half. And we did these shows, and I was able to walk on the stage and not think about the audience. I could look right at them. I had no problem. And that to me was a huge leap forward for myself. But it helped me in Toastmasters because now I don't worry. Of course, I care about what the audience thinks. I shouldn't say it like that. But what I care about is getting that message out there and that it helps someone else. Do you have any other questions? Oh, Suli Hall has burnt toast. Humor is huge.
Way
Two.
past time.
Okay. Oh, am I way past time? I'm sorry. Okay. My toast is burnt. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
As your host. Thank you, Sandy. I think you're well on track to being a distinguished Toastmaster if you're not one already. So you are one of those people who want to be a DTM.